So I get a lot of questions about apartment lending. People that are just looking to buy their first apartment building. Of course, you need a loan. You're not sure how to qualify, sure what the lingo is. So today I want to go through the top 7 terms that are most used for apartments. The first one is DCR. That stands for debt coverage ratio. The debt coverage ratio is essentially a formula that we use to determine what loan amount the property can qualify for. So let's say, for example, we say there's a maximum 75 to 80% loan to value. That's great, but we also need to verify that the property cash flows enough to support that. So basically the property needs to cash flow enough to support that mortgage payment. Let's say that a lender's DCR is 1.2. So what you would do is you would take the net operating income and divide it by 1.2, the DCR. That's going to give you the annual mortgage payments that the property can qualify for. So you divide that by 12 and that gives you the monthly mortgage. So from there you could back into what loan amount you can get based on your interest rate and the payment. The second thing is prepayment penalties. It's really standard on really all commercial loans to have a prepayment penalty. So what that essentially means is that you're gonna have a prepayment penalty for a specified amount of time. So if you pay off the loan, meaning if you sell the property, if you refinance the property, if you make any principal reduction payments, you're going to have to pay a penalty. I have a separate video that kind of breaks down what the standard prepayment penalties are. You can definitely feel free to refer to that and I'll go ahead and link it here. The third thing is qual rate. So again, when the lender's looking to qualify the property for, the loan amount that the property can support, we use what we call a qualifying rate. That is a rate typically that's higher than the rate that you've been quoted or the interest rate you're getting on your loan. So let's say I quote you 4.2% for a 5-year fixed. When we underwrite your cash flow, we're more than likely going to underwrite that somewhere around 4.5%. Again, the lender is just being conservative and making sure that the property can service the debt. The next thing is good faith deposit. So what happens when you go for a commercial loan or an apartment loan is we underwrite your cash flow, we figure out what you can roughly qualify for, and we issue what we call a letter of interest. So that letter of interest is just a really basic kind of letter of interest that says, hey, we're interested in doing this loan, we're not making you any promises, but these are kind of the terms that they're at. If you agree, sign here and issue a good faith deposit to start ordering the third-party reports. So that good faith deposit is essentially a deposit towards third-party reports, mainly the appraisal, if you need an environmental, that as well, and then also might include, processing of your loan and things. It's essentially a way for the lender to know that you're serious about moving forward with a loan and you're putting some money forth to do that. It's credited at closing to you, so you'll see the credit on your closing statement for that good faith deposit. It's essentially credited towards the appraisal and other loan costs. So the next thing is the rate lock deposit. So you can lock your interest rate, usually for 60 to 90 days. So what you would have to do is issue a rate lock deposit, which is usually 1% of the loan amount. Now that is again credited back to you at closing so long as you close and don't cancel. So if you had to cancel for any reason, the lender would usually make that non-refundable. If the lender couldn't perform on the terms that they provided, then that would also be refundable. But let's say they perform, it's credited back to you at closing and you get that money back. It's just a deposit to secure your rate. The next item number 6, is vacancy factor. That again is used when we're qualifying the loan. So we would look at your income and we would use kind of an arbitrary number for a vacancy factor. So for example, the average vacancy rate in San Diego right now is 2%, let's say. So a lender's conservatively going to use a 5% vacancy factor. If you live somewhere else, maybe the average vacancy is higher. Let's say that vacancy is 5%. They might use 7 or 10%, somewhere around there. We're going to use that number to essentially hit your cash flow or your income to come up with the adjusted gross income. So the last thing, item number 7, is replacement reserve. That's an expense. So what we do is we look at your expenses and we also add a replacement reserve. So your expenses are your regular operating costs for the building. We take into account the potential that you might have to do something that's not a standard operating cost. Let's say replacing appliances or replacing flooring, something like that. What we typically use is $250 per unit for a replacement reserve, and that's used when qualifying your loan. So there are the 7 top terms used when you're looking at doing an apartment loan. If you have any questions or want me to break anything down any further, please do feel free to reach out. Hi everyone, thanks for watching my channel. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe and also leave me comments if there's anything that you want me to talk about, any questions that you have in regards to financing, property management, renovations. Leave comments below and I would love to answer your questions. You can find me on my website at pacificshorecapital.com, and I'm also on Facebook and Instagram.